Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander Katrina Ryan, the great niece of this evening's Roll of Honour story, Private Stanley James Haywood. We also warmly welcome the extended family of Private Haywood, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family, visitors, and students on behalf of Investigator College, Goolwa, from South Australia. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations over more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Stanley James Hayward. Stanley James Hayward was born on the 2nd of January 1897 in Lochinvar, New South Wales, to James and Hannah Hayward. He was the eldest of 6 children born to the couple. He attended New Menzies Public School, after which he went to work as a labourer on the family farm called The Bluff at Manila. Following the outbreak of the First World War, Hayward enlisted in the AIF at Armidale, New South Wales, on the 2nd of May 1916. After his initial training, he was allotted to the 4th Reinforcements to the 33rd Battalion. He embarked from Sydney on 17 October 1916 aboard the transport ship Border, bound for England. After arriving in England in early January 1917, Hayward was sent to a training battalion. He sailed for France on the 20th of March, and after several weeks at Etap, he joined the 33rd Battalion, which was resting at Armentières on 10th of April. The 33rd Battalion took part in its first battle at Messines on the 7th of June. The battalion, along with the rest of 9 Brigade, led the 3rd Division's assault and captured their objectives. The battalion held the newly won positions for several days afterwards and endured heavy German shelling, suffering heavy casualties as a result. The battalion rotated in and out of the front line at Messines until August, when it was withdrawn for a rest. In the early hours of 30th of September, the 33rd Battalion returned to the front line near Zonnebeck, relieving several British battalions. During the morning, the battalion suffered 3 fatal casualties, one of whom was Hayward. The manner of his death was not recorded, and his remains were not recovered. He was 20 years old. Today, Hayward is commemorated on the Menin Gate Memorial at Ypres. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Stanley James Hayward, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and good evening.